Imagine this. You're sitting in the back seat, eyes glued to outside the window. Rolling green hills, brightly colored forests, and fast-flowing rivers pass by as you lose track of time. That was me, sitting in the back seat of a bright orange pickup truck. I, along with my dad and grandpa, were on our way to my favorite vacation destination. That destination is Reading, Pennsylvania. My trip to Reading was special to me because it was one of the only times that it was just me, my dad, and grandpa going on a trip together. My trip to Reading, Pennsylvania was one of the few times every distraction was set aside and the scenery and attractions were fully enjoyed. When we were driving into Pennsylvania, the first thing that caught my sight was the landscape. One minute, we were cruising down the turnpike, which is basically just a giant toll road that spans from state to state, and we go off an exit. As soon as we got off an exit, we were greeted with a giant expanse of just golds and reds and browns because the trees were changing. Once we got through the forest, though, the landscape finally started to reveal itself. It was rolling green hills covered in a bunch of crops that were just waiting to be harvested, swaying in the breeze. All of this was visible because there were very, very few cars on the same road as us. And primarily, the main cars that were on the road were horse and buggies. One of my favorite stories about when we were driving with horse and buggies nearby was when we pulled into a town on a Sunday. Since all the Amish were in, it felt like there was hundreds of buggies just all lined up in that little town. We eventually got tired, though, of the slow horse and buggies, so we made our way to the racetrack. When we got there, the racetrack's Maple Grove Raceway, we struggled to find our parking. We eventually found it, and then after we found our parking, we made our way into the pits. Since it was early enough in the morning, we were able to see as all of the cars ranging from Top Fuel Dragster to Pro Stock Motorcycle were unloading their trailers. In this process, one of the Top Fuel cars decided to start their engines. Little known fact, race cars are really loud. So everybody nearby was wearing hearing protection because you could not hear yourself think. On top of the noise, there was also unburnt nitromethane in the air, so everybody had their shirts up to be able to breathe because it would burn your nose and mouth. All in all though, it was a really good time. But we eventually made our way out of the pits and into the stands. You know, big tall seats in the sky? Yeah, those kind of stands. We were about halfway down the track, about 30 to 40 feet in the air, watching as the cars passed by. Even though it was sunny, it was a nice, pleasant day, with it never exceeding 80 degrees. Eventually, it reached lunchtime and we all got hungry. Track food is really bad, so we made sandwiches. Personally, I went turkey and cheese, best sandwich out there. Though the only issue was getting dirt and exhaust in your mouth because it was not a good time trying to eat with that. But sadly, our trip came to an end that Sunday night that racing was finished, and we were back in Michigan by Monday. My trip to Reading, Pennsylvania was one of the few times distractions were set aside and the scenery and attractions were fully enjoyed. Be it driving through the countryside, watching as the beautiful trees and rivers pass by, or the high-octane racing of the racetrack, Reading had a little bit of everything for everyone. As the flowing rivers, brightly colored forests, and rolling green hills passed by, the sadness began. But the sadness disappeared because I remembered these will always be held on to. The sights and attractions of Reading are the best, despite it not being a major city or tourist attraction.